Steve Prince. Our last contestant of the evening, Rick.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Good. So I'm following Steve. He was pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
So, one of my set is about relationships and love, and women in general think men have a commitment problem, and Steve is probably the perfect example of that. But we don't really have that. What we have is a problem that we don't really know when we don't love a woman, and if you don't love her, you should break up with her. So I came up with some hints to help men figure out when they don't love a woman. So if you'd rather eat a can of dog food instead of taking her to the Olive Garden with the unlimited breadsticks and salad, you don't love her. If you'd rather watch an hour-long documentary on the history of concrete, and I did watch it, it does exist, instead of watching a Notebook with her, you don't love her. If you'd rather get root canal done at the dentist instead of going to the park with her and walking with her, holding hands, you don't really love her. If you rather invite a Jehovah's Witness into your house and listen to him for an hour instead of listening to how her day went, you don't really love that woman. If you rather clean the dirty restroom of a truck stop than change the toilet roll paper in her bathroom, you don't love her. Now, on the other hand, women have the other problem. They know when you date, you don't love a man, but what they don't know is when they love a man too much. So if your camera has run out of space taking pictures of him, you love him too much. If you're getting a bikini wax every other week, you don't love him too much. If you're getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning, getting your makeup on, doing your hair, getting all dressed up, making him breakfast, you love him too much. If you're wearing still 6-inch stiletto heels to do the laundry, you love him too much. Now, you go to the cemetery and you see those, the tombstones with the date somebody was born and died. And they always have that dash in between. Well, that dash represents your life, that person's life. So I got to go over a couple moments in my life. I actually met the guy that invented the Big Mac. It's true. It's the coolest thing. And meeting him. He owned a restaurant in Pittsburgh, and Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, was looking for a new sandwich, and he went there and he liked it, so he made it the new sandwich for McDonald's. Now he owned a restaurant, McDonald's. Probably ate there every day. Probably had a Big Mac every day. So. I know what you're all thinking out there. He was fat, and shame on you for thinking that. But he was fat. He was a nice guy and everything. He's dead now, but when they were going to name the sandwich, it was like they had a big meeting with all the VPs, and Ray Kroc wanted to call it the Blue Ribbon Special. Nobody liked it, and there was a 25-year-old secretary at the meeting and said, "Why don't you just call it the Big Mac?" They all loved that name, so that's how it got its name. And I think they named it wrong. They really should have called what it really is. Like, eat enough of these and you're dead. So the other big moment in my life is when I quit smoking. Anybody quit smoking here? Yeah, it's really, really hard to do, right? And I remember it like it was yesterday. I had just graduated 5th grade. Yeah, I thought it would make me cool and get me women. But after smoking for 2 weeks, I realized that I wasn't really cool. And if I got a woman, what was I going to do with her? So I quit smoking, stealing cigarettes, and started stealing candy bars. But the last moment is like, you'll probably all had this, the day you first drive a car to school. Everybody remember your first day you drove a car to school? Well, if you didn't, it's a big day. So my dad had finally given me permission to drive the black Torino. That was a cool sports car back then. I drove it in, and everybody looked at me, and I felt so cool that day. I parked it, went in there, strutting with a smile to class, and then the principal came on. Well, the owner of the black Torino, please come to the office. Well, that just made it even cooler because everybody in the school was going to know I drove that black Torino. But then he went on and said, you left the engine on with the doors locked. So this is a true story. I went to the office, called my mom, who had a 30-minute drive, so she could drive 30 minutes to help me turn off the engine and drive 30 minutes back home. So I go out to the car, and sure enough, the engine's running, and the driver's side door is locked. Well, I look on the other side, and the passenger side door isn't. So I had this really, really big dilemma. Do I go over there and turn off the engine and close it and call my mom so she doesn't have to spend an hour driving? Or do I just go over there and lock it? So I'm a 60-year-old teenager. What do you think I did? Oh yeah, I locked it. Thank you all and have a good night.
Rick, everybody. All right, your next comic coming to the stage. He's going to perform a little bit longer of a set so we can have time to deliberate and try and figure out who the winners are out of the contest tonight. So put your hands together.